Good afternoon. You're watching Midday News, where we get you the top developing news stories at the top of one. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. First up, let's take a look at the headlines we're tracking this hour. Prime Minister Modi to host retreat for ASEAN leaders at Rashtrapati Bhavan shortly. Leaders to discuss maritime cooperation and security at 2-hour-long meet. Prime Minister's address at India-ASEAN commemorative summit in the evening. President Ramnath Kovind to deliver Republic Day Eve address to the nation at 7 p.m. today. Ground-to-air security cover in the national capital ahead of the parade on Friday. 10 ASEAN leaders are chief guests this year. Eighth National Voters Day today. Rajya Sabha television to begin the telecast of 7 episodes of National Election Quiz conducted by Election Commission of India. Over 13 lakh students across the country participated in the quiz. Film Padmavat released amidst protests in some states. The Supreme Court agrees to hear petitions seeking contempt action against 4 state governments and Rajput group Karni Sena for violence. And India hunt for wickets on the second day of the third and the final test against South Africa in Johannesburg. Team bundled out for 187 in the first innings. South Africa to resume play at 6 for 1. India without spinner for the first time in 6 years. A top story this afternoon, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be hosting a retreat for the ASEAN leaders at the Rashtrapati Bhavan shortly, and the theme of the retreat is maritime cooperation and security. Well, at present, President Ramnath Kovind is hosting a lunch in honor of the visiting leaders. The Prime Minister's 2-hour-long retreat will also include a walk in the Mughal Gardens at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Now, this retreat is being held ahead of the evening's big event, the India-ASEAN commemorative summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will deliver the opening remarks at the plenary session, and the theme for the summit is Shared Values, Common Destiny. The summit is being held to celebrate 25 years of relationship with all 10 members of ASEAN. Heads of states of all these countries are also joining this event with a view to strengthen cultural and economic ties with India. A joint Delhi declaration is also expected to be released at the end of the summit.
The ASEAN grouping is important for India to further its Act East policy. The countries also have strong cultural and historic ties.
ये कोई एक रस्म निभाई का छोटा आयोजन नहीं है, दिखने में छोटा जरूर लगता है, लेकिन बहुत महत्व का ये आयोजन है और ये मैत्री उन 25 वर्षों की नहीं है मित्रों, जिसका हम रजत जयंती समारोह मना रहे हैं। ये मैत्री सदियों पुरानी है, जो रामायण और बौद्ध धर्म से जुड़ी हुई है। अभी भी 20 तारीख से यहाँ रामायण उत्सव चल रहा है। 10 में से 8 देश रामायण का मंचन करते हैं।
Two of the most important aspects of the India-ASEAN relations are regional security and maritime cooperation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the visiting dignitaries will have a special retreat session on these issues during a luncheon at Rashtrapati Bhavan. This will be discussed under the summit's central theme of Shared Values, Common Destiny.
Both in terms, of course, political engagement is already ongoing. We have very strong defense ties with specific individual countries, except for Laos, which is a landlocked country. I think we have very strong maritime relations with each of the other 9 countries. We have our Navy ships and our Coast Guard ships that make regular ship visits to each of those countries. When we had held the International Fleet Review, we had a very strong participation from the ASEAN member countries. We have very strong Navy-to-Navy cooperation. We have coordinated patrols with some specific countries. On the defense side, as I told you, we are working very closely with some of them. There are very important programs that are on capacity building as well.
The main summit will take place in the evening on Thursday, when leaders would discuss issues and chart the future course of action. The aim is to enhance cultural and religious linkages, given the fact that Buddhism and Ramayana is the common thread that runs through these countries.
In January last year, by focusing on civilizational and cultural linkages. That itself speaks for itself that, our relationship with the Southeast Asian region is not something new. It has been happening for centuries, for more than 2,000 years. And so what we are really looking at the moment is something that was happening in the past, where it was maritime connectivity, which was the main element through which traditional trade, philosophy, literature, people-to-people contact, etc., took place.
The ASEAN countries see India as the balancing force in the region at a time when there are hegemonistic advances from China in the South China Sea. In addition, the Southeast Asian region is economically very vibrant. As India grows at 7.5%, it throws up a lot of economic and commercial potential. The ASEAN region is India's fourth largest trading partner, and India is their seventh largest trading partner.
India and ASEAN share common values, and so there is common destiny. ASEAN is the region which has been endeavoring for peace and prosperity together, and India is their natural ally. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha television with camera person D.K. Pandey in Delhi.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with the leaders of the ASEAN today. He met the Prime Minister of Thailand, General Prayut Chan-o-cha, at the Hyderabad House. After the meeting between the two leaders, the MEA tweeted, "Our Act East complementing Thailand's Act West policy, constructive dialogue on economic and commercial exchange, connectivity, defense and security, cultural cooperation and people-to-people exchanges." Well, the Prime Minister also met his Singapore counterpart Lee Hsien Loong, as well as he also met with the Sultan of Brunei, Darussalam Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah. The Prime Minister held discussion with his Singapore counterpart on economic and commercial ties, fintech, tourism, enhanced connectivity and smart cities. He will hold a bilateral meeting with the Indonesian President Joko Widodo in the evening, who arrived today. And earlier on the eve of the ASEAN-India Commemorative Summit, the Prime Minister held bilateral meetings with the three ASEAN leaders. The Prime Minister held separate meetings with the State Councillor of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, Prime Minister of Vietnam, Nguyen Xuan Phuc, and the President of Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte. The visiting dignitaries underscored the importance of ASEAN-India relations for peace, security and socio-economic development in the Indo-Pacific region. And during the meeting with Aung San Suu Kyi, the Prime Minister held discussions on various issues of mutual interest and ways of further strengthening bilateral ties. They also followed up on key decisions taken during the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Myanmar in September last year. And Prime Minister Modi and his Vietnamese counterpart expressed satisfaction at the growth of bilateral relations between the two nations with the framework of comprehensive strategic partnership. The partnership is in the field of maritime cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region, defense, oil and gas, trade and investment. Prime Minister Modi and the Philippines President also reviewed the progress in bilateral relations and in global and regional situations since their meeting in Manila in November 2017. It was agreed to give a further momentum to cooperation between the two countries, particularly in the field of infrastructure development. The leaders also witnessed an exchange of an MOU between Invest India and Board of Investment of the Philippines. My colleague Akhilesh Suman is now joining us live from New Delhi for more details. Akhilesh, well, ahead of the main summit in the evening, of course, Prime Minister Modi will host a retreat for ASEAN leaders at Rashtrapati Bhavan shortly. And surely with the theme being maritime cooperation and security, there could be a message to China as well.
See, this is not just a messaging to China, this is a messaging to the whole ASEAN region and also the world, that India and ASEAN can work together for larger goals. And that larger goal is peace in the whole ASEAN region and also in East Asian region. So it is with this understanding that ASEAN leaders and Indian leaders have approached each other to go together for maritime security, because this is also a route that from where lots of ships come through, and this is also a route where pirates might also be active. So this is right from security to anti-piracy for peaceful understanding among India and ASEAN leaders, and also it is indeed a messaging to China also that hegemonistic tendencies are being opposed not only by ASEAN nations, but they are also seeking their allies all over the region and also all over the world. So, you know that it is, you cannot say just that it is messaging to one country, but rather it is a messaging that a grouping, bonhomie is created among most of the nations in this region, so that there should be no hegemon existing. And you know that the whole story of South China Sea, when international court gave a decision and China only rejected it. So there is a problem in this region, and I think that this is the message that the whole region wants to give.
Absolutely. And speaking about the main summit, Akhilesh, of course, ASEAN is central to India's Act East policy and the entire security architecture of the Indo-Pacific region as well. Of course, Prime Minister Modi would like to stress this importance when he addresses the ASEAN summit plenary this evening. All right, well, we seem to have lost contact with our reporter there. We'll try to connect back to him in the subsequent bulletins. And our Foreign Affairs editor, Akhilesh Suman, also spoke to a few journalists from ASEAN nations. Let's take a listen as to what they had to say about India-ASEAN ties.
I'm standing inside International Media Center that is specifically made for India-ASEAN Commemorative Summit. You can see journalists from various ASEAN countries and also from India are sitting here and filing their reports, talking to fellow journalists, and also getting a feel of India at this occasion. I'm here with a journalist, senior journalist from one of the ASEAN countries. Which country are you from?
I'm from the Philippines.
Okay, what's your name?
I'm Pia Gutierrez, and I'm a reporter from ABS-CBN. That's a major network in the Philippines.
Fantastic. So how did you feel about India?
Well, I feel that there's a lot to be learned about India. We have a long connection and long story of relationship with India. But I feel, and most Filipinos feel, that there's a lot of areas which we could look into for stronger or better bilateral relations with each country.
And yesterday, Filipino President talked to Prime Minister Narendra Modi also. So I think you are expecting something great from these talks and also from India-ASEAN Summit?
Yes, of course. There's been a lot of talks about strengthening bilateral cooperation in terms of investments, trade, and also military cooperation. So I think that's an exciting avenue to explore.
Okay, thank you so much. So expectation is from ASEAN countries that there might be multifaceted relationship between India and ASEAN.
It's very similar to the Philippine hospitality. After all, we are all Asians. We have this common culture of making visitors feel comfortable. And so far, we're enjoying our stay here in this South Asian country that is poised to play a key role in the region.
Okay, so how do you see Indo-ASEAN relationship in future?
Well, I really cannot say. I'm no expert about geopolitics, but our leaders are optimistic that it will continue to become strong because of our common identity, our common democratic ideals, and our common aspirations to promote development for everyone in the region.
So everyone is expecting, right, from the journalists and also from the leaders, that there should be a very good relation between India and ASEAN countries. So, and friend, what's your good name?
My name is Fairul. I'm from Brunei, Darussalam.
So Brunei is a country, we hear a lot about it. So how did you find India-Brunei relationship?
Oh, the Brunei and India relationship is really, really good so far, and I'm sure that's why we are here. I think there will be more relationship. There will be more connection and cooperation between two countries so far.
So do you think that ASEAN countries and India can go much further than they are now?
Well, definitely, especially India are one of the countries that is really important for Brunei, especially on labor and oil and gas so far. There will be more cooperation going on that I can. Today is the big day for Brunei itself to hear more. A lot of things that discussion will be made by both countries as well.
So do you think that ASEAN countries need India relationship?
Sorry?
Do you think that ASEAN needs India?
Yes, for sure, definitely. And again, we are here, and we will make another cooperation in the future again. Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. So the journalists from various countries in ASEAN, they think that both India and ASEAN need each other, and that is the core of relationship between the two countries and the two regions. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person DK Pandey in Delhi.
On to some other news now. President Ramnath Kovind will address the nation on the eve of the 69th Republic Day today, and the address will be broadcast from 7 p.m. on the entire national network of All India Radio and telecast all over the channels of Doordarshan in Hindi, followed by English. Broadcast of the President's address in Hindi and English on Doordarshan will be followed by broadcasts in regional languages on the regional channels of Doordarshan. All India Radio will broadcast regional language versions from 9:30 p.m. on its respective regional networks. Rajya Sabha Television will also telecast the President's address. Meanwhile, ahead of the Republic Day function tomorrow, the national capital has been brought under a ground-to-air security cover, especially in view of the visit of 10 world leaders for the ASEAN summit. Thousands of armed personnel have been keeping a tight vigil for the Republic Day in Delhi and in border areas of the city. Additional security personnel are being deployed in high-rises with anti-aircraft guns. The entire central and north as well as New Delhi region will have nearly 50,000 security personnel drawn from the Delhi Police, paramilitary forces and the NSG as well. And CCTV cameras have been installed and control rooms have been set up to monitor the feed from the cameras. Tight vigil is being maintained at strategic points, including at all marketplaces. Dog squads have also been deployed in key areas. The visiting ASEAN leaders, after attending the ASEAN summit today, will be the chief guests at the Republic Day parade tomorrow. And today is the National Voters' Day. President Ramnath Kovind will give away the Electoral Practices Awards 2017 to district collectors, SPs and other officers involved in the election machinery. Prime Minister Narendra Modi greeted people on the occasion and congratulated the Election Commission of India, which was founded on this day in 1950. Well, the Prime Minister added that the power of the vote is immense and urged all eligible voters, particularly youngsters, to register themselves and strengthen democracy with their participation. The day was first celebrated in 2011 to mark Election Commission's Foundation Day. This is the 8th National Voters Day.
भारत निर्वाचन आयोग ने सभी श्रेणियों के मतदाताओं की सर्व समावेशी, जागरूक और नैतिक चुनावी भागीदारी को प्रोत्साहित करने और बढ़ाने के अपने निरंतर प्रयास में कई प्रकार की पहल की है। इनमें कोई भी मतदाता ना छूटे थीम के अनुरूप मतदान केंद्र स्तर तक मतदाताओं के साथ भली प्रकार से जुड़ने के लिए सोशल मीडिया सहित तकनीकी एवं मीडिया को एकीकृत किया गया है। मतदाता शिक्षा मतदाता को निर्वाचन प्रक्रियाओं के साथ जोड़ती है। मतदाता शिक्षा कार्यक्रम स्वीप को भावी और नए मतदाताओं को जोड़ने के लिए और अधिक सुदृढ़ किया गया है।
And the Chief Election Commissioner of India, O.P. Rawat, called on Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today. Rawat called on the Vice President for the first time after assuming office. O.P. Rawat assumed office on Tuesday. He took over from A.K. Jyoti, who retired on the 22nd of this month. And the Election Commission is conducting a unique quiz contest to make the children of the country aware of the democratic process and the election procedures. Over 13.5 lakh students from all across the country participated in the initial rounds of the National Election Quiz, out of which 72 students have qualified for the semi-finals. Now, the semi-finals and the final rounds of the National Election Quiz will be telecast every week on Rajya Sabha television.
Proud participants in a very unique competition in the Rajya Sabha TV studio. These students have come from different states and union territories after qualifying for the semi-finals of the National Election Quiz. Presented by Rajya Sabha television, this one-of-its-kind quiz contest was conducted by the Election Commission of India.
Let's start the National Elections Quiz.
The students were selected from government schools run by the centre and state governments from across the country. As many as 13.5 lakh students from 48,000 schools took part in the contest. After passing multiple rounds at school, district and state levels, 36 teams with 72 contestants made it to the semi-finals. The contestants will be asked questions on election procedure, governance, election laws, and history of the Indian Republic. They will also be quizzed on election procedures in other countries. Rajya Sabha television will televise the semi-finals and final rounds of the contest. Every week, one team out of the 6 semi-finalists will be shortlisted for the finals. The finals will showcase a contest between 6 top-performing teams. The champions will get a prize of 1 lakh rupees. The first runner-up team gets 80,000 rupees and the second runner-up gets 60,000 rupees. Teams standing 4th, 5th and 6th will get 50,000 rupees each. The quiz aims to make students aware of the election process and democracy, especially those in the age group of 14 to 17 years of age. Rajya Sabha television will telecast the semi-finals and final rounds of the National Election Quiz every Sunday at 9 a.m., 3:30 p.m. and every Saturday at 5 p.m.
Don't forget to tune in. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu met 18 National Bravery Award winning children at his residence today. The 18 Bravery Award winners will participate in the Republic Day parade tomorrow. The recipients selected from across India are given a medal, certificate and a cash prize. They also receive financial assistance to complete their schooling. Vice President said that their deeds of bravery inspire others.
I feel extremely happy when I meet and greet these youngsters who have shown exemplary courage and bravery at this very young age, all children. They are the role models for others. And the idea of recognizing them or giving them bravery award is to felicitate them, to give inspiration to others.
On to the other top story of the day. Bollywood film Padmavat has been released nationwide today amid protests. The security has been tightened outside theatres across several states. The movie has been facing protests by the Karni Sena and other groups over allegations that historical facts were distorted in it. Major multiplex body has said that it will not screen the film in 4 states. These include Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Goa. Directions have been issued to concerned police stations to provide security at all cinema halls. Several schools have been closed till further order across Delhi NCR as well as in Gurugram. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear on Monday 2 separate petitions seeking contempt action against 4 state governments and the Karni Sena for violating its order on the release of the film. The Supreme Court had, remember, last week paved the way for the nationwide release of Padmavat by saying that the ban on its screening in Gujarat and Rajasthan is not valid. And on to sports, South Africa will resume their first innings on the second day in a short while from now in the third and the final test match against India. On Wednesday, the host was 6 for 1 with the batsmen Dean Elgar and K. Rabada on the crease. India were, remember, bundled out for 187 runs in their first innings. India, however, already lost the series with the defeats in the first 2 tests and will be looking to avoid a whitewash. Cheteshwar Pujara has described the Wanderers' wicket as one of the toughest that he has ever played on, and he asserted that his side has enough runs on the board as the pitch would only get tougher to bat on. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of Midday News. Thanks so much for watching.